All right, good evening, folks. I have a pretty interesting rifle here to share today. This is a gun that's not usually commonly found in the United States. It's a Westley Richards model of 1869, sometimes called an improved Martini Henry, but it doesn't really share much design-wise in common with the Martini, other than the tilting block action that it shares. But it's a very different mechanism as far as how it actually works. It has an internal hammer system versus the Martini striker fire, amongst a lot of other differences. But it's a lot more difficult to find than a Martini or a Martini-derived rifle, at least here in the United States. And this one's pretty unique because it's actually been rechambered to 4570, which to me has a few benefits. Number one, it's a rare rifle that's going to be much easier to shoot than it would have been, had this been in the original caliber, which was probably 450 number one carbine, based on the length of the action and the model that it is, versus the 4570, which of course you can find at Walmart for the most part. Maybe not, appropriate rounds to use in a gun like this, but even still much more accessible simply to find the brass, the projectiles, and everything you would need to load a 4570 round to the appropriate pressure and velocity for an antique rifle such as this. The other benefit of it being rechambered was that it did take away, I guess you could say, some of this collector value of this kind of rifle, and I was able to get it much, much less expensively than it would have been had this been in in the original caliber with a far less accessible cartridge. So it's a nice gun. It's got very high grade wood. The checkering is in very good condition, as is the original blued finish. Looked it over, and I can't really find much of a sign that this has been touched up or anything. The bluing looks period, from everything that I can see. It's in very nice condition, and really probably hasn't been shot much since the conversion, or possibly even before when it was in the original caliber. So one that I'm really happy to have in my collection, and very excited to get to know this rifle and how it shoots a little bit more. It's very lightweight, nice and handy. This is probably a European sort of stocking version. These were, of course, very popular in Africa, especially South Africa, but this was probably more destined for the European market versus going over to Africa, simply based on the fact that it's not set up for what one would consider a dangerous game, or a big game style cartridge. It was probably more of a European deer rifle before it found its way over here to the United States, but one that I'm very happy to have and one that I'm very much looking forward to shooting. There's some quirks with this, based on the fact that it wasn't designed as a 4570. It's got the original Henry rifling, which is pretty cool, but it means it has kind of an unknown twist rate, and the bore diameter is kind of a tapered, starting at, I think, closer to 455 here in the chamber, and actually tapering out to like 452. So it'll assuage any kind of lead bullet that goes down there, as long as you're shooting it to the appropriate velocities. But what might be interesting is if it truly is a 452, you might be able to use some 45 ACP bullets in this and get decent enough accuracy, at least for a plinking load, to simply put together some light shooting gallery loads very inexpensively, which is something I absolutely look forward to doing if that's going to be a possibility. The other thing is that the chamber length I found, or the action length, pretty much maxed out for what you can do with a 4570. I can kind of show you here with an empty cartridge. We're going to be shooting this with some of this HSM Cowboy action ammunition here with it. But if you take a cartridge, and as you can see, this is just empty brass, but it'll still serve to show the point here. It doesn't very smoothly fall down into the chamber, okay? It's kind of stuck. You have to really pull that action all the way forward to get that brass in there. It's a two-handed job, even with a loaded cartridge. And ejecting it is much the same. You have to have that lever pulled down all the way to be able to get out of the chamber. Now, there's a way around that. You have to trim the brass up a little bit, but it will work. Here's one that I've trimmed down to 2.05 inches, which is the same as Hornady's FTX brass. So I'll probably be making that sort of the go-to for this rifle. But with that shorter of a chamber, try that again, it just pushes right in like normal, and you can actually simply eject it by pulling the lever down. So you do have to trim the brass up just a little bit. That's not going to be a big deal. I don't have another 4570, so any brass that I get is going to be dedicated to this rifle. A little bit of time on the trimmer is not going to be a big deal to actually make this work the way that it should. So go here and sort of give a close-up of the rifle so you can see it's in very good shape. You know, super excited to shoot this, and I feel as if I got a pretty good deal on this gun all said and done. So just to kind of go through to show you some detail on the rifle, the checkering is very sharp. The wood is a very high grade. Going over to the receiver here, the bluing is in still really good condition. I know it's kind of hard to tell just based on the indoor lighting that I have here, but it's actually a lot bluer looking in person and very much in line with other period, you know, British bluing jobs that I've seen. So I don't think this has been touched up any from that perspective. It looks to me like the furniture and the finish is all original, with the only real changes being done to rechamber it. Don't know about this clearing rod that they have there. It looks relatively old to me. I have not pulled it out. I haven't really had a reason to, but yeah, the safety is still in good condition. That's the only really kind of mar there is the mark that you'll get from moving the safety up and down. But it works, you know, if you're familiar with a Martini, it at least works sort of like one would, where you pull the lever down, it tilts the breech block in like that. Looks like a Martini, but inside it's all different. If you've had any experience, you know, at least in the US, with a Gahendra rifle that came out of Nepal, it's actually a much more similar design to that. And they based those off of this action, which is just going to have some, I guess, simpler spring styles than the Martinis did when the Nepalese tried to copy that design. They had a much better job doing it with the Gahendra than they did with the Francot and the Model 1871 Martini pattern. So it's a design that does have some legacy there. They do have some military versions of this. Like I said, very popular, especially in South Africa. The Boers made very good use of this style of rifle during the Boer War, and then, of course, as a civilian hunting rifle. Probably where most of these would find use is in Africa. But this one is just a really good sort of stalking style rifle, super light, super handy, and very looking forward to getting this to the range and finding some loads that work with it, and probably getting this back out into the field myself. All right, first time here on the range with the Westley Richards. I haven't really had a chance to make up my own loadings for this, so right now we're just going to be using some of this HSM Cowboy Action 4570. It is black powder safe. You can use it in things like a trapdoor, which this should be a little bit stronger than anyway. I used this when I used to have a trapdoor. I wasn't super impressed with the accuracy that I was able to get out of it with that rifle. We'll see how we do with this gun. We're just going to do some plinking at 25 yards with this. Not super, you know, accuracy test, more of a function check than anything else. One thing I can say with this is the 4570 really kind of stretches the limits of the length that this action is able to do. I mean, you've got to have the lever pressed down all the way, okay, with a regular length cartridge to actually get it to close. And I'm assuming I'm going to have a similar issue when I go to open a fired cartridge or after I fire it. But we'll find out in just a minute here. This properly adjusted it where we want it. All right, looks like we're just a little bit below the target. I'm gonna flip up the 100-yard leaf sight to see what that does. Let me see. Really gotta thumb it out like that. So, yeah, like I said, it's got some kick to it. And what I've actually done with a couple other, and we'll try in a minute, is cut the case length to 0.205 inches, which is the length that the Hornady FTX brass runs at. That will actually fade and extract normally. So we'll do a couple other rounds of this full power stuff here. And we'll go to the plinking loads that I was able to put together.
really jam the lever, that'll come out. Yeah, trust me, I actually don't want to fire too many of those. That's heavy kicking. This is a very light, handy kind of rifle. Probably see why it's in such good condition, because the guys who had it before didn't want to shoot it very much, just because of how heavy that recoil is. All right, we'll go check out a group of this at 25 yards, and then we'll try the plinking stuff that I was able to put together using 45 ACP bullets. Not expecting too good of accuracy out of that, but the bore is a little bit tighter than a regular 45-70, so it might work. So real quick, we're averaging about 1,400 feet per second out of this here. What is it published on the box? I don't think it says anymore on here. But yeah, 1,400 feet per second. That's pretty normal for, I think, a rifle like this. So we'll try it with the plinking loads next. Let's go check the target. Okay, as you can see, load is 1, 2, 3. So we're a little bit below point of aim, which is dead center here. So we could make that adjustment for the sight. Group is not terrible. I mean, I'm using sunglasses as my eye protection because I can't find my regular glasses. Part of the reason why we're shooting at 25 yards here. So that's okay. We're gonna try it with the plinking loads next. I'm probably gonna shoot at the top target here, and we'll probably have to make some adjustments because these are gonna be very, very light. So we're gonna take a look next. All right, next we're going to be using the plinking loads, which is these guys right here. So it's a 45 or a 45 ACP projectile. I think it's a 230 grain berries, plated berries bullet is what we're going to be using. Smaller than, you know, a regular 45-70 bore diameter by quite a bit, but this is tighter than a 45-70 would be. I believe it sort of has a tapered out muzzle that is at its tightest point right at the muzzle is about 4.52, so it might work at least for plinking here. And I think we have like 10 grains of Trail Boss is our powder load for this one. So what's nice about this is I was able to trim the cases a little bit to actually get it to pop right in like that. So this feeds pretty smoothly. Gonna be using the same 100-yard sight leaf here. You know, we'll see how that works. I'm assuming this is going to be still too low, but we'll find out in a second. That's much more enjoyable. And then you can just, it pops right out like that. There we go. So, yeah, trimming the cases a little bit on this is certainly a recipe for success. So, with a better bullet, this is a much more pleasant load. I don't think I'm going to be getting a great group with this here, but with a tighter bullet, using Trail Boss instead of a full powered load here, we'll be better off. So I'm going to actually shoot a couple more of these because I did not get the chronograph set up all the way, so I at least want to see how we're chronoing here. More shots. I didn't make a ton of these, but we'll do our best. .1071. I have 3 more. It looks like we'll shoot 1 more and see how it goes. 1120. So somewhat consistent there, not so bad. Let's go take a look at the target and see if we even made paper. All right, so here's how we went for, and again, this is just a Plinking load here. So I think I fired 5 times. I've only got, it looks like 3 shots on target. That might be 2. That also might be 2. It's very difficult to tell. There's definitely 2 bullet holes on the plastic part underneath. So that might be all 5 on target. It might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not 100% sure, but best case scenario, I did that. Worst case, we have 3, but even those 3 seem pretty close together. So not bad overall. That could just be a fun little Plinking load. Truthfully, it's not that much different than this here. So if we want to plink around with this at 25 yards, I'll fire the rest of what we have and see where we get on target with that. I'll probably put a few more full power ones through here. I'm going to bump the sight up to the 200 yard leaf, and we'll see if we can at least hit point of aim at 25. All right, so we're kicking this up to the 200 meter sight leaf. I'm going to use the full power loads here to just punish myself before I go back with the plinkers again. So again, we got to push that lever down and kind of ease it in there. It's a two-handed operation with these. Once I trim the brass back, that won't be a problem anymore. What I'll probably be doing after this is just exclusively for this rifle buying the Hornady FTX brass, which should be trimmed to the length or made to the length that will work in this rifle. I am rapidly losing daylight here, and the sunglasses are not helping my cause. We're still right at about that 1400 FPS mark with these, so these are consistent to say the least. These are not supposed to be hard kicking rounds either, but in this rifle, just how light it is, they let you know. I'm gonna knock that back to the 200 or the 100 yard sight, and I'm gonna put in my last plinker. See if I can get right on target on that top target. Much better. I think I'm just at the tip top of the black on that one. Let's go see how we did. Oh shoot, how many more of these big loads do I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Put one more on target here. One more heavy one. The more brass I have, the easier it'll be to reload with something more pleasant. All right, here's our last round for the day, I think. $14.13. So this HSM stuff is it's consistent, especially when it comes to the speed. So I've got nothing bad to say about that. Like I said, when I was shooting a 45-70 trapdoor, it was not, you know, super awesome as far as accuracy goes. But let's go take a look and see how we did again with a sight. All right, so here for our bottom target, I had 1, 2, 3, and then this one down here, I think I had accidentally put the sight back down at 100, so it did go lower. So with this one, this is kind of our point of aim there. And then my last, the plinking loads, is this guy right here. So is it this guy? It might have been this guy here. I don't know. Either way, I think I have everything from this on target. So that tells me that I probably did get a couple in each hole there. I mean, I think that looks like 2 bullet holes. I don't know. It did all right. With the 45 ACP, at least at 25 yards, it did okay. So we can have some more fun plinking loads and actually be able to, you know, hit a pie plate, which I guess that's what you want to do. We can do that. Otherwise, I will be loading those other cases with a lighter charge, probably still using Trail Boss with appropriately sized bullets. But either way, the function test worked. I mean, the trigger pull was very consistent. It's a very nice handling rifle. We just have to get a load that finds a good balance between accuracy and not kicking like an absolute mule, because like I said, this thing is very light, a lot lighter than you'd want a 45-70 to be. If I get a recoil pad, I could probably tame it a little bit, either throwing one on the back of the butt or just getting my shooting vest with a built-in pad on it. It'll be a little bit better for it, but either way, it's fun. This is a nice little experience, so I think this rifle will be good once we get learning it a little bit and a load that works. So there we go. That is your 45-70 conversion of the Westley Richards Model 1869.